We know 70% of people with addiction are employed. You know, I'm the face of addiction right now. I'm white and I'm employed, and we're in the majority. It's not, ethnic people sitting under a bridge. That's not who the face of addiction is. And so employers have as much invested in the game and getting their employees well as the public sector does, because we know the costs associated with untreated addiction are huge. I'm a registered lobbyist in Washington, D.C., and I have the luxury of being able to specialize in the addiction and mental health policy world. And my experience and interest in this area has been informed by my own experience as a person in recovery who couldn't get health benefits for the addiction care that I needed. And so it inspires me to work on those kinds of issues today. I'd love to tell you that I had this grand, plan that I sat down and wrote out. But like a lot of things in recovery, synchronicity and grace, I think, played a big role in why I got involved in this field. It wasn't intentional. This lobbying firm called me, asked me for an interview, and said, here's a list of our clients if you come to work here. And do you know anything about this one, which was Hazelden? I got the job, and he said, listen, as soon as you get here, you got to fly out to Minnesota and figure out what these people want, because they're bothering me to death. I have no idea what they do. And they hug all the time instead of do handshakes. And I can't take it. So I started working for Hazelden and decided I better tell him before he learned of this while we were there. So I go into his office and I said, Duffy, I went to Hazelden. And he's like, would you go out there for a conference or something? And I said, no, I was a patient there. And he was like, you were a patient there? Do you have an alcohol problem? And I was like, yeah, and drugs. And he paces back and forth, and I'm thinking, oh God, I just sent out all these announcements how I become a vice president at this lobbying firm. And I'm gonna have to call everyone and tell them, hey, got called off, I got canned. He turns to me and he goes, McDaid, they're gonna think I'm a genius. He goes, here's the plan. We're gonna go out to Hazelden. We're gonna tell them that I hired you just to service their account, and you're gonna become the addiction lobbyist in Washington. I can see it now. We'll get Hazelden, then we'll get Betty Ford. And he laid out my career plan that day. He was very supportive of the fact that I was open about my recovery to a client that was in the addiction recovery business. But he did not want me talking about it anywhere else and not around town. So I decided to start my own firm. And one of the real strong pulls for me for that was that so that I could speak out about my recovery. And I have found, interestingly, that when I'm honest about my recovery, when I do take myself everywhere I go and not try to put on some mask of this official businesswoman and just be myself, I've also been much more successful in business and in life in general. I think the temperature of America has changed. We're not there yet, but we're warming up to the fact that people have personal adversities and they have recovered and gone on to triumph in their life. Americans love a good redemption story, and recovery is a great one to tell.